let's go ahead and welcome in Impetuous Panda, and let's talk about the next matchup that we've got on hand. Impetuous Panda, this is the final match of the day, and there are a lot of implications for both of these players to move forward in the top 8.
Exactly, and implications for Europe as well, because Bad Attack didn't make it through on this last match, and Cosimo is now the last hope, at least for these two groups today. And for Pinpingho, the same thing with Asian players as well, with Artify not making it through in Group A. So again, both the players, but also the regions, a lot of implications on this match. Last match of the day, everything on the line as we expect in group stages. So very excited. And I think there's some very interesting decks as well with kind of the aggro lineups from both players, or at least one aggro deck for Cosimo as well.
Let's go ahead and pull up the head-to-head. You already mentioned which matchup we're going to be featuring next. It is Pinpingho versus Cosimo. And with all of the matches that we have seen in the World Championship, especially when it's region versus region, there are a couple of differences that come through with the play styles for all of these regions clashing together. And I think that's what makes the World Championship so exciting. So I can't wait to see who is going to be moving forward. Pinpingho and Cosimo are both sitting at a 1-1 record, and with a win, they will advance into the top 8. So this is super exciting. I can't wait to see what happens. Mogwai, why don't you just take it away and bring us into the match?
Yeah, like you guys said, this match is just outstanding, and there's a lot on the line. And we are going to see if Pinpingho actually succeeds with his what seems to be an anti-Nami Zoe lineup, because he did fall on his face a little bit in round 1 when he faced Aikado right there, and he was not able to take the win with the Jinx Draven discard. So now he can try it again, but we do know the power of Sparklefly, and let's see if Cosimo can find those glimpses from beyond, as it's going to be a very, very tight series, I can already tell, as Pinpingho had a really strong game 2 showing, and is just a phenomenal player. They've been hyping up quite a bit up until now. But, we're two Spanish casters casting the Spaniard, tried to make it the top 8. So I just...
Exactly. There's usually... we can be professional, but with this set of circumstances, it's going to be especially difficult because it's the only Spanish player, the only European trying to make it out of these two groups today. So there's a lot, obviously, on the line for us to be biased for. But, regardless, I think it is going to be a very exciting matchup. I talked to Cosimo a bit yesterday just to get a little bit of his insight onto the matchup and his thoughts going into it. And he was very surprised that Pinpingho was only running one Experimenter in Discard Aggro, for example. He thought the deck would run out of fuel very quickly. He was surprised he was bringing Pirates because Cosimo thinks that the new version with Bandle City is the stronger kind of rehash of Pirates aggro from past seasons. So overall, he was a bit confused by the lineup, and he did think he was favored going into it. He did think his Scion would be banned, obviously, and overall that he would have to ban Zoe Nami because he would not get a win with TFGP.
Well, I'm so excited to hear about both of these players, but we're going to hear just a little bit more from Pinpingho before we get into the real meat of the match.
Okay.
My gamer name is Pinpingho, and I'm from Taiwan. I have been playing Legend of Runeterra since closed beta. I like the game because there is a lot of decision making compared to other card games. I don't think there is anything such as the toughest deck, since each deck has its own strong point and weakness. I think my biggest opponent will always be myself. I'm not really hoping for any outcome, I just hope I have fun.
I love what Pinpingho said, which was the fact that this particular game of Legends of Runeterra has so many micro decisions that you have to make, and particularly in this meta, I feel like that definitely comes to the forefront when these players are making their decisions. You already teed up the match, so I'm not going to say too much more about it. Mogwai, go ahead and take it away.
All right, let's hop into it. Let's take a look at the lineup. So we are updated a little bit again as to what they're bringing, but we already have a very good idea. Pinpingho with an all-in aggro lineup. We got Pirate aggro, Draven, Jinx, discard aggro, and not really labeling it as aggro, but essentially another deck to capitalize on the Zoe Nami list with Akshan, Sivir. What do you think about this lineup against Cosimo?
Overall, Cosimo, I think he's going to be fine against Sivir. I think he can win against Sivir with his decks. not really. I think he even felt comfortable from when I spoke to him, and his bans are probably going to be centered at one of the 2 aggro decks because, you know, Pirate aggro has, I think it was 13 1-drops or 14 1-drops. So against Zoinami, despite, you know, other decks are a bit slower and it gives you time for Sparklefly to come down, for the buffs to come in, when you have so many 1-drops, it is very difficult. You're going to take a lot of chip damage overall, and Fervor obviously helps so much in having that extra interaction to kind of play around Sparklefly and you know, when you're attacking, kind of dodge the healing altogether. So overall, I think the ban is going to come into one of the 2 just aggro decks, whichever one Cosimo thinks is stronger in terms of just in a vacuum power level. And because there's only one experimenter in the discard aggro list, I think that might be Pirate aggro in this case.
I definitely agree with that take. I do believe that Pirate aggro should be the target here, especially because of what you mentioned with the Noxian Fervor, being able to navigate around stuff like Sparklefly. I think that is one of the few things that discard aggro can't do that Pirate aggro can. So definitely would be expecting that. And we see here Cosimo's lineup a bit more standard, but we do have that Pink City at the end, who didn't have a great start as a deck, but then Cosimo just absolutely blasted with it, and we just saw Badge Attack just lose pretty badly to it as well. So this deck does win. If it draws properly, it is very threatening, and it has a lot of things going for it, and many people deem it to be better actually in a vacuum than Pirate aggro. So we're gonna have to see what ultimately is banned here, but I think Draven Scion is the likely choice.
Sivir Akshan is not going to be banned from Cosimo's side, looking at just lineup spreads. And Sivir Akshan, I mean, Draven Scion has just a crazy good matchup against Sivir Akshan. It's kind of like the triangle between Sivir Akshan, Draven Scion, and Zoinami. So I think that like read is pretty evident, I think, for Pinpingho as well. He knows not just what he's going to ban, but what his opponent's going to ban, and then thinking what he wants to ban or play against, let's say. And in that case, Draven Scion has to be the ban, I think. It's a no-brainer, really. And then it comes down to just beating TFGP, which we're going to see kind of an aggro mirror, certainly, against the non-banned aggro deck. And
there they are, exactly the bans we predicted. Oh, we look smart today. Nice.
I mean, it does help when you talk to one of the players and kind of he tells you.
I did it, so I think
he does your homework for you, gives you the homework. Like, all right, I'll copy this and I'll say it on broadcast. But it does make sense, you know. If you're, you know, we've been in this meta for a few weeks now. We've been, looking at qualifiers, I've been casting Fight Night as well, and it does line up with everything that I had already in mind, just in theory.
Let's see what they opt to lead off with, though. I think we have seen Cosimo lead off with the Gangplank deck in the past. He likes leading off with that one and then finishing things up with Zoe, Nami, and maybe Pinpingho can see that coming and try to adjust. If you're looking into Gangplank, then your likely best option to lead off with is the Sivir Akshan list, as it is a little bit more resilient.
Important to remind the viewers that the actual match score does not matter in this group. It is just simply who wins the series makes it through. So it's not 2-0 or 2-1. It's not relevant, which might sometimes affect queuing order and depending on how you have to end up getting the match result. But in this case, whoever wins the series goes through, and that's all that matters here. And yeah, we're seeing it here. Going to be aggro versus aggro. Cosimo thinks that this deck is stronger. Cosimo thinks that there's a big weakness in the list from Pinpingho, which is the only one experimenter to refuel, and it's kind of giving you a lot less consistency in terms of trying to, like, if you run out of fuel, you're not getting back into the game, let's say. That was Cosimo's mind. Whereas with the TFGP, you have pathways, you have obviously Pokestick, and generally we haven't seen this deck run out of fuel before it just ends the game, obviously.
And the biggest deal, in my opinion, is standing in his hand, and it's a double. That Twisted Fate. Twisted Fate can just wipe out discard aggro if played correctly. Especially with this opener, we see with the double Poros, like this Twisted Fate is already looking great, and if he can
House
somehow,
Fighter as well.
if he can somehow set up that deckhand, that Dreadway deckhand, properly and get a boosted red card, then that would just be honestly just devastating for Pinpingho here. But Pinpingho having a nice solid turn too, but not something that Cosimo can't keep up with, as he has the Inventive Chemist, doesn't even have to develop the deckhand here to protect and lose the keg in the process. So really good start here for Cosimo, I believe.
The problem with the deckhand is that it is Pinpingho attacking on 4, so you can't set up the deckhand on turn 3 unless obviously Pinpingho makes the terrible mistake of not just open attacking on turn 4 and killing the barrel in the process. But obviously, you know, you click the deck, you see Twisted Fate is in it, and you have to start preparing for that as an aggro player, because the red card is so menacing in terms of just clearing your entire board, resetting all your progress, and really stumping your development.
That Pokestick draw is phenomenal, because we were just talking about that, how he has to open attack, and now he has a way to also punish an open attack by just playing a fast spell. I was going to talk about double up, but Pokestick, much better in this particular scenario, unless you want to try your best and just try to kill Draven. Because you can, well, next turn, actually, you have a total of 6 mana, so you cannot double up and Pokestick, so never mind about that.
And also, you do run the risk that there is going to be interaction in terms of get excited. We see 2 in hand as well for Pinpingho, so there's a chance that you can get excited to your own unit in some cases. You can get excited to Keg, of course, if you're trying to kill a Draven. So there is going to be interaction there, and you know, Cosimo knows this. It's not, you know, some aggro decks don't really have that kind of interaction, but this one with Pinpingho does have the get excited, and there are 2 in hand as well.
You can only play 1 next turn though, so if he, for some reason, if he actually like develops because he believes he can afford to, since he does have to get excited to interact with it, then the Pokestick backup could be really clean. It could allow him to just clear most of his board. So Pinpingho has to respect this Twisted Fate, especially because of that 2 spell mana backup there for Cosimo, and he's gonna go for the burst speed generation. Yeah.
And this will be obviously a big swing. It'll be the challenge here onto the Invented Chemist, the barrel getting thrown out of the way. Draven, obviously, you can't really block it. Ephemeral Unit, you don't want to block it. And you can't block the Elusive. So overall, big hit. You're going to trade the deckhand to the House Player, just makes sense. But in this case, Twisted Fate is still good, especially with double Twisted Fate, because you can clean up with 1 red card, kind of sacrifice Twisted Fate, you know, let it die on purpose, not really obviously playing for the level up in any case, and then go for the second one and clean up anything that remains on the board.
Did you just risk the double up here? I don't know. Like, you can't. Right? Like, I mean, double up
is a spell that it's when it goes wrong. Kind of like Culling Strike, we were talking about it you know, outside of the stream, that it just has this very polarized result where if it doesn't go through, there's no like secondary condition where you're getting a little bit something out of it. It's just fizzles, and it's just, you know, 5 mana wasted. And in a match like this, I think you can't really waste 5 mana at this point in the game.
I like this.
He's setting up the TF. Yeah, this is much better.
I like this so much better. This is fantastic. I do believe he has to block with the Crackshot Corsair there. I think that's too much damage to take. Could be wrong.
I mean,
but that feels
especially
like
looking at the hand that we're looking at, then yes, obviously it does feel, you know, like a bit too much, because you see double get excited and Jinx.
Oh, but he doesn't block. He doesn't block. He doesn't block. Oh, he's taking a lot here.
Yeah, he doesn't know what the hand looks like. He doesn't maybe know that there's a Jinx in hand. He doesn't know there's Burn in hand, and he thinks that maybe there's a chance that once he controls the board, and there's like one big development push from Pinpingho, then he can kind of stall out the game until he can win. But it might not be the case. There's just a lot of burn damage already in hand for Pinpingho.
In my opinion, it's like I just don't think that Crackshot Corsair is that valuable. You know, I feel like it's saving you for 3 damage here is worth more. Because he's down to 11. Like, that's a big hit. If he was at 14, it would be looking so much better. Yeah, it would be down 1 unit, but this Twisted Fate just cleans house. This Twisted Fate just comes in and just cleans things up.
Twisted Fate doing his, you know, from the back rope.
Yeah, we were talking about this. Like, essentially what's happening, you know, he comes in, then he jumps really high, anime style, and then he lands, and then the red card goes down. It's just,
I'm all for it.
I love it. I hope they never fix this bug. I think it's actually not a bug.
And there is Jinx coming down on curve. It's going to be obviously a very, very scary unit. Can get a lot of things happening very quickly, and is kind of the chance to really, you know, it's the whole archetype of discard aggro, of just getting rid of your hand with very cheap units and spells, and having a very explosive start, and then having Jinx and Experimenter kind of refuel and give you that extra bit of burn damage you need to end the game in most cases.
Here's the interesting thing. I think the correct play may just to be, like, if you develop Gangplank, you get that Powder Keg as well, right? But if you develop Gangplank before attacking, your Powder Keg is just going to be busted by this Crackshot Corsair. But this is still the correct play, I believe. Especially because if your opponent does decide to block into either of these two with Jinx, then it sets it up for double up. And you know that once you don't require the powder keg to deal with a certain unit with double up, in this particular matchup, you are going to kill it. Like, there is no interaction in that regard, and that's very important. But again, he took all that damage. He took that extra 3 damage, and I'm concerned that may end up mattering here, because this Crackshot Corsair better start pulling her weight.
Because I love the full attack here. Yeah. Like you mentioned, it just sets up so many things. The double up sets up maybe the second TF. If Jinx blocks the TF and kills it, then you have, like we mentioned before, the fact that TF in hand is more valuable than TF on the board in most cases, unless you're trying to level up in some very, well, after the nerf, there's not many decks that are trying to level up TF with the 9 cards needed to draw. But in these kind of matchups...
Level up. He's gonna axe the vision. No, sorry. He's gonna. Okay, he could level up here. He could go for the axe on the vision and double the. But it depends on how much, how fast he wants to level up Jinx, right? But it seems like he actually may just be going for the get excited, discarding the vision, and hitting the gangplank and knocking it out with this portal. Because otherwise, blocking with a portal doesn't make much sense, right? So
that's the play, I think.
Yeah.
You're getting the +2, and you're getting the 3 damage from the get excited itself. So the damage is still pushing through, obviously, from the gangplank. There's a level up on the gangplank, so we'll be dying to the trade there. And Jinx does survive on 2, but
and
like
she
you
levels
mentioned,
up. Yep.
She's gonna level up and gonna be out of range of the double up, which is actually massive, obviously.
Absolutely crazy. Like, this is scary because now all that damage that he took, now these rockets, he's on the clock. There's a vision and there's a oh my lord. That's pretty good. I mean, you get your rocket no matter what, even though you do have the answer with double up and you don't have the mana though. But this is scary. Because this is also,
I mean, is it that scary that you're going to take 4 from the rocket? You can just chump block the Jinx with the TF, obviously. You can double up the Grenadier, and there's no interaction whatsoever here. You're dealing 4 damage yourself. On your next attack token turn, you have Tenor, you have Pokey Stick. Depending on what Jinx drawn, you're not going to be anywhere close to lethal because the rocket will only deal 4 here. So all of a sudden, because there isn't much more threat aside from the Jinx, and you can chump block the Jinx here, and TF is not dying to the rocket, you're fine if you're Cosimo.
like in next turn, just so like next turn you have Tenor or Terror, you have triple impact. Triple impact and Pokey Stick. That sets up lethal. That's beautiful. That's actually beautiful.
And you have Pokey Stick at fast speed to kind of, get ahead of the rocket when it is played. If there's kind of a lethal race.
That is beautiful, actually.
It's going to depend on the draws, obviously, from Pinpingho's side. But looking at the hand of Cosimo, which is, the only hand we have to look at here because there is no cards in the hand for Pinpingho, it is looking pretty good. Lethal is possibly there.
Crowd favorite,
not it. And Portal Cannon, not really
None of it
either.
stops it.
There's no interaction to stop the impact here.
The new keyword coming from the Bando City expansion is really going to set and it's going to be this turn. He's got mana for all these 3 plays. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, I kill you, and he's actually gonna do it.
And the rocket here doesn't do anything. The 1 damage won't kill any of the 3 units, especially not the Stone Stackers, who is, a unit. Definitely note, I think in bold keywords with the tough as a 2-drop, he seems unkillable when he comes down on curve. But even now on turn 6, gonna be putting in the work here with triple impact, and like you mentioned, the Pokey Stick, or if you want to get fancy, the Make It Rain. Well, now it's too fancy.
That's playing with fire.
Now it's too fancy. When there was only 2 units, it was fine. Now it might be too risky. But if you want to kill the Jinx in the process, Mogwai,
no, actually, now you do it. Now the portals are gone. Now you kill it with the Make It Rain.
You gotta send the message now.
Cosimo, this is very important, Cosimo. Like you won, but how you win
You have to do
matters.
things in style.
Cosimo,
you have to get
please.
the confidence.
Yes. Style points.
Nothing that you can do with Pinpingho, and that will be game 1 going to Cosimo. Cosimo, 1 match away from qualifying to day 3 of this tournament to the top 8, and to having a European player qualify from this first day of competition. Again, this is a match between obviously 2 players that really want to make it through. This is, everything is on the line for both of them, but also 2 regions. And, there's been no Asian player qualifying. There's been no European player qualifying from Group A. It was only Americas with What Am I and Realkey. So a lot on the line here.
A lot on the line for sure. Now it is up to Nami Zoe. This is the deck that Pinpingho is targeting. Yes, Cosimo got the first win. He's been doing exceptionally well with Pink City right here, by the way. Like, he's had a really solid run with it all, like, just in general. I believe the other loss that he had was in this deck, or maybe I'm incorrect, but the 2 games that I've cast with him with this deck have just been exceptional. And now this is what matters, though, because Pinpingho has designed his entire lineup to not let this deck get a win. He failed round 1, but we'll see.
That being said, Cosimo, from when I spoke to him, he thinks that there's just not really a way to target Nami Zoe if they draw properly.
I can actually do that.
And especially against aggro. With Pirate aggro, the deck that was banned, it is a bit scary because it has so many 1-drops, and you're obviously not playing turns 1 and 2 for the most part if you're playing Nami Zoe. But for decks that are just a tad bit slower, which discard aggro, you know, weirdly enough, kind of I think fits the description in this current meta. If you get Sparklefly down and Nami down, you have enough, you know, staying power to really outlast, and especially with, like we mentioned, with only 1 Experimenter.
This is the deck that failed Pinpingho last time around, though, and it ran out of gas. But one of the important things to know is that there was indeed a Sparklefly, and right here, right now, Cosimo's hand is not looking great at all. And this is a really strong opening. This is already much better than what Pinpingho had last time around. Last time around, he had no 2-mana play. Like, he just had a 1-drop, and he drew a bunch of his 4-drops, and it was just really awkward at that point. But he's taking quite a bit of damage here.
No Sparklefly. You have Double Trouble, which is going to help, you know, populate the board a little bit. You're going to play out your Zoes, you know, just when you can, because you do need to get on the board and have some presence. And there's Sparklefly, at least.
There it is.
That being said, without buffs, she's not really, you know, it's not really that big of a deal.
She doesn't sparkle.
That is a way to put it, yes.
Yeah. It's a great way to put it, come on. Give it to me.
Shelly can help, but it's going to take a little bit longer until Shelly comes online and really has just not Shelly herself, but the spell mana to really start ramping things up.
Getting that Super Groove Star chart, very important, though.
You can get a Crescent Strike, Equinox on the crowd favorite once it comes down. So, I mean, very key cards that you can pull there. And it is looking like a great setup for the crowd favorite. We're looking at it at the hand now for Pinpingho.
Let's see what Cosimo opts to do. If he opts to do the Sparklefly or play Double Trouble instead. Yeah, Double Trouble makes a lot of sense here. You need to go wide. You need to be able to block into the Swarm. And Sparklefly without buffs, like you mentioned, not quite there. Unfortunately, no Legion Rearguard. These 1-drops can indeed block.
It's going to come down to... actually, the crowd favorite was discarded.
Whoa.
Very...
I mean, I guess just respecting the...
yeah, the chance of Equinox. Equinox.
Equinox. No, it's Equinox.
However you say it, Mogwai, it's going to be fine. We understand.
Thank you.
The 1-mana Leviathan counter.
Yeah. I'm going to go with that one. I'm going to call it E, or the goat. The magical goat. Down goes the second Double Trouble. Yeah, probably. And there's a Make It Rain. Like, that Make It Rain. You know, that one off of Make It Rain, very relevant here.
It's going to be a full attack here, but like we mentioned, this is kind of the Double Trouble acting as also a anti-aggro tool and adapting to certain, you know, matchups. You don't have Nami in hand, you're not playing your normal game plan, you're just trying to survive. Because we talked about this deck running out of fuel. Looking at the hand of Pinpingho, he has a Poro, a Legion Rearguard, and you know, a Jury Rig. No Jinx, no Experimenter, no Refuel. What are you doing the next few turns? You're still at 16 HP if you're Cosimo, and taking only 4 damage, maybe none at all if you go for the Make It Rain or the full box here. So I think you have to be pretty happy for Cosimo. I mean, already Pinpingho is his choice to bring only 1 Experimenter might be coming back to bite him.
I think I understand the mentality behind it. Like, you want to go like really under and be as fast as possible. But it's not like, as much as I see this Nami Zoe deck, like I never see it to a point where it just has no chance against these aggressive decks because of Double Trouble, and especially like this Make It Rain tech also really clutch as well. We're definitely gonna be seeing. I think next turn is time for Shelly, and if he starts stabilizing heal, he will very easily outvalue Pinpingho, and that again. Like, the card that I'm most afraid of, I don't know about you, but when I face discard aggro, the card that I fear the most is the Augmented Experimenter.
That's not the top deck. It's going to come down to top decks, and this is something that's obviously it's been the case for discard aggro since the deck came into the meta, a year ago, and it hasn't left for the most part. That you draw this Jinx, you draw this Experimenter, you refuel, and all of a sudden you're back in business. But if he continues top decking 1-drops, and this is a deck that has, like you mentioned, he was building it to go really low to the ground, kind of like with Pirate Aggro where you have 13, 14 1-drops. This is what happens when you don't go fast enough. You end up just top decking 1-drops. You don't have any value or any impact on the board when you go into later mana stages, like we're looking now at turn 5 or turn 6, and then you're in big trouble because you just can't do anything to try and get back into the game.
Exactly, and right now Cosimo is pondering between Equinox or Moonsilver. The problem is he really wants that.
Shelly's not down yet, yeah.
Yeah, he wants that Equinox because he doesn't know what we know. He doesn't know that Crowd's Favor has been discarded, and he has to, in a way, he has to respect this, right? And he can't enable this alongside Shelly because of the Attune as well. So there is a very good chance that he takes 1 mana slow speed Goat Spell, and indeed he takes 1 mana Ghost Speed slow spell.
Reporting in.
There's a rear guard coming down, another big attack coming in, and obviously these rear guards can't be hit by Make It Rain as well, so it's going to make it awkward, not just to just try and hit it and kill off these blockers, but just to get the optimal value from Make It Rain itself, because there are now 3 units with 2 health on the board. But you're going to have a chance for Pale Cascade. You can heal a bit with Sparkle Fly here if you need to, or you can just pass and bank this mana for Shelly next turn if you have a chance to. But there's going to be an open attack, I think, for sure from Pinpingho.
We could see Equinox onto the Battlecaster here.
Do you think I don't know if it's the open attack is scary enough to just go for that.
It's pretty scary. It's pretty scary.
You're at 15 HP. I mean, the crowd favorite coming in would be scarier, and Equinox would be a much more clear answer for that.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, yeah, if he doesn't go under 4, definitely don't do it. But at the same time, it feels a bit bad to just pass here and like this open attack is actually spooky for sure. I mean, he does have to Make It Rain, right? He could just go for the Make It Rain here. No, he's actually going for it. He's going for it. He's going for it. I like it.
Extra safe in this case. And I think this is also a case where you're a bit confused from the information because your opponent has 5 mana, he has 1 card in hand, he's not playing it out, and obviously he's at a point where he's trying to put as maximum pressure on you as possible. So you really start thinking, what does his hand look like? I just saw 3 rear guards played out basically. I saw a ton of 1-drops, and it does get a bit confusing to know what to play around or what the last card in hand could be, because Jury Rig is obviously not the expected one, I think.
I think at this point, a player of the caliber of Cosimo can start reading into the idea that it's a bluff, Like, especially after, scouting and seeing that it is indeed...
Finds the vision.
That's a top deck. That is a top deck. He's going in. This is pretty much...
This might come down to Make It Rain.
Look at the action.
It's going to have to be, I think, block the 2 rear guards possibly, and then just go for the Make It Rain and pray it hits a few, or maybe at least 1 or 2.
Well, he has the Pale Cascade as well. So he can Pale Cascade the Sparkle Fly and get a little bit more health back as well. And that Moonsilver here, I mean, I think you take Moonsilver at this point. You have... Moonsilver is just so good, and you have the Glimpse Beyond right there. But he actually takes the card draw instead. All right.
Gonna be Pale Cascade here onto the Sparkle Fly to survive the trade, I'm gonna assume.
Okay, so wait, that's 8, 10,
Still
13,
taking a lot of damage.
Yeah, it's a lot of damage. It's scary when you take into account like a potential Jinx top deck.
Spell Thief here, have any spells been played from Pinpingho's side? I guess Vision has been casted, and Jury Rig as well.
Jury Rig
for a
Jury Rig, you can play Jury Rig. Oh, we see. Oh, he doesn't see it. You could have played Jury Rig.
He might not value it. He might just want to.
Yeah, maybe he just. Man, that's so low. That's scary.
But when it's going off of just top text for Pinpingho, you know that even to get excited, it can't just necessarily come in and deal 3. Obviously, there's not 2 get excited. It's a possibility of that. It'll have to wait 2 or 3 turns for that to happen. So
and you got the health
Jinx,
gain anyways.
Yeah.
It is Jinx.
Jinx does come in.
Oh.
But Shelly comes in and Sparklefly is still alive, so we're seeing a lot of very cheap spells here. All these turns have been setups. You've been warned as well.
He's
to try
gonna
and get
warn
the
Jinx and get her out of here with that messenger. That's what's gonna happen.
Yeah, you can Pale Cascade for the +1. You get the +1 from Shelly as well. That's gonna be it. You said it, Mogwai, and we're gonna get the double buffs from Shelly in this case.
Double buffs. Double buff's gonna get that health back. I mean, this board is spooky, but getting Jinx out of the equation, massive. Absolutely massive.
This is all the setup here from Cosimo. As he's been waiting, he's been saving all these spells in hand to make it rain very patiently, knowing that if he survived to this point, if there wasn't enough interaction from Pinpingho, now he can take over the game and there won't be any disruption. Obviously, there's no cards in hand, so he knows he doesn't have to play around anything, and everything is very, it's like kind of the equation is out in front of him. He just has to solve it, and in this case, I think he's definitely finding the right lines.
There's the Spell Thief. Let's see what he picks up here. Jury Rig, Poro Cannon. Oh, Poro Cannon.
Ooh.
Poro Cannon. He can play Poro Cannon, discard something, and then buff. And then buff him again and go even wider and just make sure that he can protect against an open attack. Yeah, this is Cosimo's game all of a sudden. This setup, this picking up the messenger, instead of just opting to go with the Moonlight, and it's like all this. This is why this is such an amazing player. Like, people can say all they want about Zoe Nami. Yes, it is an incredibly powerful deck. You can consider it easily like busted, but it is also one of the more intricate decks out there. Without a doubt. Like, this deck is not easy to play, and you will see the top players really showcase what this deck is all about here. And down goes Jinx. He picks up another purple fish,
so another walker. Just in case,
crazy.
7 HP for each player, but obviously completely now in favor for Cosimo in terms of the hand state, in terms of the value going to the next round. Once again, a top deck situation for Pinpingho. He finds a House Spider, which is not going to do enough here. You still have the Sparkle Fly to block.
Yeah,
and the surrender comes in. Cosimo wins game 2. Cosimo gets a 2-0 sweep in this final series of the day. And Cosimo and Europe live to the day 3, make it through. And, I think we're both a little bit biased here, so I think we're very happy for Cosimo. Just an excellent player. Pinpingho also had a very, I think, interesting lineup, and I think he did play really well today. And it was kind of a big risk coming in with discard aggro and pirates, which is I was very surprised to see his lineup overall. But I think he definitely be proud as well from his play all day. Was fantastic as well.
Ooh, and the fact that Cosimo is the only player to walk away with 2 2-0s. That's some dominance right there, and some expert play to navigate that end game situation. So I'm super, super excited to just see Cosimo move forward, as I'm sure both of you are. Mogwai, what are your thoughts?
Oh, I'm devastated, clearly, but really,
so sad.
Yeah. I'm happy to see him do so well, because I think this is a long time coming for him. He's definitely one of the players that's been on my radar. He's been making a name for himself, and he seems to be doing better and better and better. And now, what better chance to prove yourself than in the biggest stage for Legends of Runeterra, right? This is his one shot to really proclaim himself as potentially the world champion, and he's been able to guarantee his spot in the top 8 in a very tough group, and also really prove to us today that targeting Zoe Nami, a bit of a risky idea.
Yeah, I mean, that's been kind of the case for a lot of the matchups today. Zoe Nami, definitely a deck that everybody has looked at and said, yeah, this is a very powerful deck and we should all be a little cautious of it. But a lot of the players that did actually target that deck, Zoe Nami was still able to squeak through with a win. And like, Impetuous Panda, what do you kind of make of that?
I think it's similar to Azirelia in the last meta, where it's a deck that just the power level is so high, and when all the pieces fall together in the right order, regardless of what you're trying to do, it might just not be enough to stop, what Nami does on turn 4, what she does when she levels up, what Shelly does with the right hand as well. So overall, it's a risky strategy, and the way players are targeting it with, aggro lineups in general in some cases, maybe with more Demacia-based stuff, with challengers, that is the more guaranteed way of doing it, with things like Concerted Strike and Stolen Combat, I think and Sharp Sight, obviously. But with just aggro lineups, I think it's too risky, especially with Sparkle Fly being a thing in the deck, the lifesteal and the chance to really ramp that up.
I think that also one of the key things about this deck, and like I want to fall back on this a bit, is that you may think that you're preparing for it, and you may spar a little bit against some variants, but the reality is, as strong as a deck as it is, like I mentioned in the game, it is a very skill intensive deck, because there's a lot of micro decisions. There's a lot of cards that are spawning other cards, and you need to know what cards to pick, and you need to know how much mana to spare. You need to know when to invest your win conditions, which can be either Nami or potentially Shelly, or even Zoe as well. Like, there's also the fact that your 1-drop can actually become your win condition if it left unchecked. There's a lot of things to keep in mind, especially against decks that are trying to race you down. And we've seen Cosimo just pilot it pretty much perfectly, and that's not something that you see every day, right? So you can go into this tournament thinking, oh, you know what, I built the counter for this deck, but then you face top tier level players piloting it, and then you're like, never mind, what was I thinking, right?
Well, what a fantastic win for Cosimo, and thank you so much, Mogwai and Impetuous Panda, for casting that last match. We're going to talk to you both in just a little bit. So before we get to that, let's look at the group standings for all of our players today. We had Group A and Group B, and everybody getting a chance to take a match win. I think that's super impressive, especially given the incredible level that all of these players are performing at for the World Championship. But we have to give a massive congratulations to the 4 players that are moving on to Day 3. We've got What Am I, Real Key, Aikato, and Cosimo moving forward to our 3rd and final day, where they will be competing against 4 players from tomorrow that will make it through to that single elimination bracket. But the moment we've all been waiting for, let's go ahead and bring in all of our casters to get some final thoughts on what was going on today. We saw incredible games, and I would love to get everybody's thoughts on exactly just how things went. So, you know what, Casanova, let's start with you.
We're 3 for 3, baby. America's coming in hot. We picked them up. 3 of the spots going to us. And it's all on the back of Starfish. We talked about meta at the top of the day and what regions were bringing different things. America's heavily representing the Starfish list. You can cut off one of the Sparkle Flies, but it'll keep regenning another one. And America's is going to keep running hot. We'll see if we can go 6 for 6 tomorrow.
And I thought that the games today were spicy and great. The number of times where you needed to see a Make It Rain hit face, and it did. Winning games, love to see it.
I mean, the thing I am most thankful for, I really just want to thank all the players, is for all of the crazy close nail biters that we had today. I had the pleasure of casting one of the most ridiculous late game turbo draw top deck situations of my casting career, and it was just an absolute pleasure. And this is only day 1.
This is indeed only day 1. We got so much more in store, and I've been blown away by the games today, but I'm more blown away by Casanova's just cockiness on this, because I'm sorry, but tomorrow will be a new day, and things will change. Right. That's all I'm gonna say.
I'm going to say, Mogwai, if Cosimo did not win this last match, we would both be very quiet in this segment. But Cosimo saved us there, so we have at least a saving grace there. But overall, I think the key takeaway is Americas obviously did very well as a region. Yeah. I think the players really showed up. And Asia, the opposite. So we'll see if tomorrow there's kind of a change in dynamic there, if the Asian players in Group C and D can get a better showing for their region as well in a big event like this one. And if Americas continues their reign of dominance, or if players like Alan and Shihu, very, very strong European players, can also just put EU on the map once again.
Well, my answer is easy. I don't get to cast LOL all that often because I am busy with League a lot of the time, but it's been awesome to be back with this game and be with this awesome casting crew. I'm super excited for more games tomorrow, and especially, deck lists have been pretty nice today, but it's extra spicy tomorrow, so really excited to see some of the lineups there.
Oh yeah, no, there's some great decks tomorrow for sure. Overall, I mean, I'm with Casanova on this one personally. Yeah, I'm just, it's good to see North America doing well in at least like one game, because like there's some other game, but it's good to see.
We don't talk about that one.
Yeah, we don't talk about that one.
We take these.
But I mean, as Panda said, this could all change tomorrow, and I'm really looking forward to casting more games.
Well, thank you all so much for bringing us through the action today. I'm going to let you all go and get some well-deserved rest before we see you all again tomorrow to take us through day number 2. So we will see you then. But let's talk about what's going to happen on day number 2, because while we had some incredible matches today, we're covering 2 more groups tomorrow. We've got groups C and D that are going to be battling it out in the round robin format, where we will send the top 2 players from each group to the finals bracket on day number 3, where they will participate in a single elimination bracket before we crown the world champion. So I'm super, super excited for the spice that we're going to see tomorrow, especially because we teed up some very interesting deck lists. But that's going to be all that we have for you. Just want to thank you all so much for tuning into the broadcast today. I hope you all enjoyed the action. Thank you so much to our players, and I hope you all have a very good night. See you tomorrow.
What a way to close out this game. Big style points from Mikado, stealing the Jinx's rocket and killing him on that turn.
That is beautiful.
If he draws Leviathan here, and there's no draw, imagine if he wins the game on the spot.
position and you can't draw it.
No way! He needs a concerted here. He's running 2 in the deck. He snap picks. That's the concerted. That's the right answer. That's it.
Yeah, none
That
of these
is a
units are
wrap,
damaged.
ladies and gentlemen. Cosimo with the dominant 2-0 victory against a lineup that was countering his.
What's this? That's not double up, it's Corsair. Real Key gonna take the 2-0. Pink City cannot get it done.
Oh,
Get
but
out of
look
here,
at this
you damn
game.
Celestial.
I mean, this is another one that comes down to the wire. Real Key dying by -1 health, needed 2 more damage to be able to take it. Yeah, you can see it on Ikado's face. That's the face of someone who would have liked to have taken the win, but as mentioned, he's signaling to all of us with that big ol' smile that he knows he's advancing anyway.
He's this Pokestick kills him.
The Pokestick. Oh, never mind. The final mushroom.
Or the mushroom.
Walk.
Yeah,
And the
it's
surrender
a wrap.
comes in. Cosimo wins game 2. Cosimo gets the 2-0 sweep in this final series of the day.